Hey everyone, it's Laura Volpes and today I'm going to share with you my first impressions about the Pink & Mane Ergonomic Blender Brushes. They had released the larger size earlier on, and on the 20th of July they also came out with the mini size. They were really kind and sent to me a couple to try out, and I decided to share my impressions, as I said, in this video for you. So here you can have a look at the boxes they come in. They're really cute and I love the pink, and they also come with this nice foam protector so that your blender brushes don't get damaged during transport accidentally. You can see the look of the brushes. There is a holder and then the brush itself, and the bristles feel super soft and it's quite packed, so the blending in general is very nice with these brushes. We will see an example later during the video, but now I just wanted to show you the brushes themselves. Once you're done using them, you can put them back in the holder, which I think is a great idea because then you don't, mess up your desk or your work surface. This is something I do all the time with my sponge blenders. For example, I end up staining pieces of cardstock that I have lying down and things like that, and this will definitely not happen with these holders. The mini size that you can see here on screen is obviously smaller than the classic ergonomic brushes, and here you can see them side by side. And the nice thing is that even if the brush is smaller, the handle isn't, so it's the same level of comfort with these ergonomic handles, and I really found them nice to work with. My hands tend to get a little bit fatigued when I do a lot of ink blending, and I really like the feel of these brushes. In order to test them out a little bit, I decided to create a card, and I'm going to use this beautiful 3-piece stencil set by Pink & Mane. It is called Rose Garden Layering Stencil, and as the name says, it is a layering stencil. I am securing it here to my make art station using the magnets that come in the station, and then I'm going to use my mini brush to do some ink blending of these gorgeous roses. I wanted to go for a soft palette, so I started with Distress Oxide in Speckled, which by the way I am really loving, and I definitely recommend you get hold of it if you haven't already. It's a really great color which works in a lot of different contexts, so I have featured it on my channel already, and I will link to a couple of videos that you can check out if you're curious. But coming back to the card and to the brushes, this is the first time that I was actually using them, and I really loved the feel. As I said, the bristles are pretty packed, so you manage to pick up a good amount of ink, but the blend is really soft and the feel of the brush itself is really soft. So once I was done blending the first layer, I used my misty creative corners to kind of mark down the position of the stencil so that I can go ahead and position the second layer, which is the one with the leaves, more or less aligned with the first one so that everything matches nicely. The make art station comes with a set with a magnetic L-squared ruler, but I couldn't find it, so I used my creative corners instead. Here I was cleaning the brush with a microfiber cloth because I was going to use the same brush to do my ink blending with the second color in my color combination here, which is Distress Oxide in Bundled Sage. I made sure there was no residual ink by swiping the brush on a scrap piece of paper, and I have to say that it cleaned off really well, so you can see that I am using a different color and the yield is perfect. There is no contamination. It was very easy and very quick to clean off the brush. Once I was done ink blending, I made sure to store my brush in the holder here, as you can see, and here is the result with this beautiful color combination. I really love it. It's really soft and pretty, and this stencil is really great. Next, I started working on my images, and I used another stamp set from Pink & Mane that they sent me a while ago when I was a guest designer for them. This is called Succulents, and I thought it matched really nicely with the style of the stencil. I stamped the images with Pebble ink by Spectrum Noir, which is a dark brown ink. I wanted to have this kind of vintagey vibe, and that is why I chose a brown ink instead of a black one, and I'm coloring the images with my Illustrator markers. I am going to share most of the coloring Every color combination will be shown once, but I'm going to go through it a little bit quickly because I mostly wanted to share with you my opinion and my first impressions about the blending brushes and show them in action to you in case you may be interested. Again, the brushes were very kindly sent to me by Michelle from Pink and Main, but there was really no obligation to share this video. This is just something that I wanted to do because I thought it may be interesting for you guys to see a product that may be new to you. And I have to say that I am really glad I did because I had a lot of fun creating this card, and I think that these brushes are a really nice product. Back to the coloring, as I said, I'm using my Illustrator alcohol markers and I'm going for a bit of a muted color palette to match the feel of my ink blended background. I am using some burnt oranges and browns to color in the mugs and some kind of yellowish and dull greens for the cacti and the succulents. I am generally using 3 shades per color and I am using different types of browns just to kind of bring a little bit more color variation in the image. So here for the bear, for example, I used some red browns. For the fox, I used some warm browns as well as some burnt oranges, as I said. And for the last critter, which I'm not sure what it is. On the blog post I called it a cat. Anyway, for that one there I'm using some muted browns. All the markers that I used are listed on screen as well as in the blog post that you will find linked in the description box down below, where I have also the full supply list for the cards that I created today. And if this is too fast, you can always use the tools on YouTube to slow down the video a little bit and get a little bit of a slowed down version of my coloring. Anyway, once the coloring was over, I die cut the images with the coordinating dies, and I love that these ones by Pink and Main are pink. I then moved on and started working on the sentiment, and I used another stamp set also by Pink and Main. It is called Smile, and I'm stamping it directly on my background using the same pebble ink that I used for the images. I had already tried the arrangement for my images off camera and I knew that some of them were going to overlap with the sentiment. So what I did is I first stamped the sentiment on my background, I then glued 2 of the 3 images and I positioned everything back in my MISTI. The sentiment stamp set was in the same position, so I didn't remove it after stamping directly on the background, so that now I could go ahead and stamp it again on the images. And this way the sentiment is continuous wherever it overlaps with the images themselves. I then glued down my third and last image, and because there was a little bit of an overlap there too, I inked up my stamp again and I stamped the sentiment on top. The important thing for this type of technique is that you use a stamp positioning tool and that you do not move your stamp after you stamp the first and the second time. Next, I have my watercolor cardstock here. This, by the way, is Spectrum Noir watercolor cardstock, which is the same that I used for my Stencil background. And I decided to add some color to it with Tattered Rose Distress Oxide and the larger ergonomic brush by Pink and Main, also because I wanted to try this one out as well. Also in this case, the brush felt really soft, and as you can see, the fade to white is really soft and pretty. I also decided to add more detail to this panel, so I took the third stencil in that Rose Garden layering stencil set by Pink and Main. This one here features some tiny flowers which are really cute and I felt were the right accent for this panel, so I went ahead and did some tone-on-tone blending again with Tattered Rose, that same stencil, and the Mini Ergonomic Blending Brush. I could have also used the larger one without any problem whatsoever, but I was just playing around and having fun with them. So at this point my card was almost ready. I went ahead and adhered the focal panel on top of my background, and I really loved the color combination for this card, you guys. As a final accent, I decided to add some Gold Fever confetti by Studio Katia using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive and my trusty embellishment wand by Studio Katia, which I also really love. And then as a last touch, I decided to add some glossy accents to the noses of these little critters here on the mugs. And that was it for my card. Here you can see a close-up of the final result. I really enjoyed creating it. I love the result and I really liked working with the Handmade ergonomic brushes. Please let me know if you enjoyed the video and if you like seeing videos like this that are a little bit more focused on products but also share some card making inspiration. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, you can subscribe for more card making and paper crafting inspiration. Thank you all so much for stopping by and have a great day!